Good morning. If you want to see how we redesigned and remanufactured this pie safe, stay tuned because that's what we're going to do today. Good morning and welcome to another Memphis Monday 212. I think it's about the fourth video of our 5th year. Today we're going to try to restore and kind of redesign, make some changes to a pie safe. If you've been watching the last couple of weeks, you've probably noticed a big brown cabinet looking thing sitting around in the middle of the shop. Well, that's what we're going to be working on today. And I think it's going to be a pretty fun project. I got some ideas and how to make it better and how to make it look better and function better, which is always good. We're not going to get anything function better or look better or anything else unless we do what? That's right. We need to knock off that chit chat and get to work. I'm going to cut off these doors about a third of the way down. Take this first section off and install 2 drawers in these areas. I'm taking these doors off because I want to work on this thing up on the workbench. I'm going to take all the hardware off these doors. I like these hinges. They need to be oiled a little bit. I'm going to take these little screens off the door. I think I'll clean them up. And clean them up and paint them black. Now got the hardware off these doors. I'm going to cut this top third of each door off right along there. Now I kind of mock the doors back in there because I don't want to mess that up. Because you can get to thinking about something else and end up cutting off the bottom one. And that would be a bad thing. So I'm putting a red mark exactly where I want to cut it. Now these doors will go back in here like this. And that'll leave room for 2 drawers, one here, and the same thing on the other side. I was going to use a paint stripper on this. I actually did put a little paint stripper on the doors here. But the problem is it dyed the wood. The paint has dyed the wood this brown color, so I've got to sand it anyway. I think these doors are the hardest to sand, so I'm going to do these first. Vibrator sander to get pretty close to the inside, but then I need to get these very insides here. And also it's in the end grain, so it's very hard to sand this. First step is to go over it with a round over bit. Let's do that now. So I just went over that with a round over bit. You can see that round over bit has this little curve to it. Now what that's done on the piece, you can see it's taken the stain off on the edges. Now I have to do this middle here, and I'll do that with a straight. Ordinarily, these flush cutting bits, they only go out to the edge of the bearing here. The edge of that bearing is exactly in line with the cutter face. So you can't just run it around here because it won't take anything off. But we're going to trick it a little bit. We're going to put that bearing in that little edge we rounded over. I'll move the bearing right to there. So now the bearing is running in this area that's been rounded over, and it should take out that center stain right there. Let's test that through. So now you can see our inside of these little hearts is all freshly milled. Here's the other one. I thought these shelves were in here with dados, but they're not. They're just set in here with Craig screws. Now I can't get these shelves out until I got to take the back off, but that's all right because I was going to replace that back anyway because it's too hard to sand. I want this whole thing to be pine, and this I was going to have to sand this piece of plywood, but I tried sanding it, wouldn't sand. The color is just soaked into that plywood, and it's there for keeps. I can take this thing completely apart, and these shelves turned out. Now there's some more pocket holes. Let's see what happens when I take this off. Well, it's not glued, just fits in there. Well, taking the trim off, so I guess we've made a commitment. Well, our nice little pie safe is now a pile of rubble. Be easier to sand. The trim is nailed on, of course, but the only other part that seemed to be put together with brads is this piece of wood here. Let's see if I can knock it off. Sure hope it's not glued. This is a kind of a graphic example of why we had to take it apart. These are the panels I ran through the drum sander, and this is one of the panels that I just, sanded. I mean, I used 80 grit on it, and I still couldn't get down deep enough to get all that brown color out of there. So here's all our parts. All our panels for our pie safe. I'll go ahead and run them through the drum sander. What I'm doing here is I'm taking some time to go through and finish all the parts for our pie safe. It'll look better, and it's also much easier to stain and finish parts that before assembly. The stain I'm using is this Minwax penetrating stain. It's called Ipswich. Since it's a light penetrating stain, it doesn't smear and smudge. It's not blotchy. This is the exact color I'm going for. It looks pretty light now, but over time it will darken. The stain won't darken, the wood will. As I said a few minutes ago, we're not going to use this old back. You can see where I tried to sand it, and it just wouldn't sand. I'm going to cut out a new back, and I'm using the old back as a template. And I'm just going to trace the old back on it. And I'll go ahead and stain this back the same way we did all the other parts. Finish is a little tacky, but it'll dry as I start to reassemble this thing. Remember, I'm always telling you to keep the nail gun at 90 degrees to the piece, like this. Because if you don't, you can have a brad blow out. See how that blew out? I didn't have my gun completely 90 degrees. I have a case mocked up here, held together with clamps. And I'm just slowly replacing these two boards, this board and this board. Well, also these side boards also they have pocket screws that go into the top. Right now I'm attaching this front fascia board here. I'm reusing all these pocket screws. I don't see anything wrong with them. What I'm doing here is putting together the boxes, putting the backs on here. So the drawer boxes will slide in just like this, and they'll go in past the face frame here, and then the drawer front will fill in this gap right in here, so that the drawer fronts will be flush against the pieces of the drawer are made with this little dado you saw me make. Goes all the way around the bottom. And then our bottom material will slide into that groove right there. And that'll be our drawer bottom. Now these are my favorite kind of drawers. The bottoms slide into that dado. It's like that. And then you just mark underneath the length of it. So now then you just take your bottom, slide it in that dado. And now for the magic, to attach it, you just come down here and put a couple staples in. Then the drawer will fit right in here. here are the doors, and I'm trying to figure out how to, I've got the drawer fronts here, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of detail to put around the edge. This is rounded over. Over here is flat, but there's this rounded over with the line around here and also down here. I think I'm going to round over and put that line detail in there. Okay, to raise it up, I'm going to reach under here and unlock it. Then there's a little nut there to turn. Okay, here's the final, what we're shooting for. See that little lip right there? Well, apparently this soft pine, I was able to do it in one go. So we'll go ahead and run those drawer fronts through and try to get this detail on it. I got these old-timey ceramic drawer pulls, or handles. Made in Japan. Now I'm going to drill a hole right through the center of each one of these. Now the drawers would be somewhat captured by the back of the piece, but I haven't put that on there yet. So I put these little cleats in here so I can apply some pressure to the front without them pushing out the back. And put our drawer in. Well, I got the doors on. We kind of lucked out on the doors. I just used the same hinges, even used the same screw holes and everything. Let's flip it over and put the back on it. What I'm doing here is marking the nail line for the shelves. Now, putting these backs on, pretty important. You go to buy something, kind of check the back, see if it's got real wood on the back, because if it's covered with paper, well, that's really going to hurt your strength. This really ties the thing together. And we're not taking any chances. We're not just doing it around the edges, we're going through the shelves too. Now I'm installing the trim here. Problem with this trim, it's not supposed to be stained. This trim is made to be painted, so I don't know how it's going to look, but putting the last of the knobs on, and once I get the knobs on, I'll put the screens in here in the heart opening. As far as I can tell, these little screens in here kind of for decoration. go ahead and put some poly on it. I have no poly at all on the trim or the drawer fronts. I wish the drawer fronts were a little darker, but pine darkens with age, and I suspect the rest of the piece, the old part of the piece, just has, you know, older wood. Well, that'd do it for Memphis Monday 212. We remanufactured this pie safe. We got to exercise our drum sander. And our new design here has double shelves, 2 shelves instead of 3. But to compensate for that, we added 4 drawers, add a little utility to it, and we lightened the whole thing up and changed the trim. So I think it looks a little bit more, put some fancier knobs on it. So I think we did okay. Well, that'll do it for Memphis Monday 212. Today I called it a restoration, but it's not really, because in a restoration, you bring something back to its original condition. We actually remanufactured this, added 4 drawers, totally took it apart, ran all the parts through the drum sander. So that's really the first time we've done a job on the drum sander. Changed out the trim, lightened it up a lot, added some new handles. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll add some more polyurethane and this and that, but overall, I think those top drawers will darken up. This is older wood, and that brand new pine there is real light, but normal aging process for pine, it gets darker and darker. Well, all wood does, but pine does more than anything. All right, so like and favorite and share and all the stuff you do on the internet. Most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.